Hello fellow book nerds, it is time to talk about some audiobooks. So there's a lot of videos recommending audiobooks because audiobooks have exploded in popularity, and I think it's wonderful. I myself kind of a newbie to audiobooks. I only really started last year listening to audiobooks, and I've gone through a couple different subscriptions to finding what I like, what suits me. Sometimes I don't know, should I wait to read this as an audiobook while my Libby order comes through, or should I just pick it up as a physical book? Is this the kind of book that I will enjoy even if I get a little bit distracted, that kind of thing? So sometimes for me it's not about just which audiobook is good, but also, is this story better consumed physically? Will I miss out if I don't read it physically, or will I miss out if I don't read it audibly? So I thought, why not start a new, it might be a series if you guys enjoy it, but just a couple of recommendations. I'm going to discuss 6 books. I'm going to tell you if I think they were better as an audiobook. So I have a little rating system of my own. So if I give it a 1 headphone, definitely better as a physical copy. Just don't even bother with the audiobook. That means that for whatever reason, I thought that this book is better read physically because the audiobook either didn't do it for me, or it's just the kind of story that you really want to sink your teeth into as you read it and just give it 100% of your attention, because some stories, despite the audiobook being well produced, might not belong audibly because they're just either too complex. Now 2 headphones is just neutral. Nothing special. You will probably like it if you read it physically, or you will like it if you read it audibly. This doesn't mean that audiobook is bad, it just means that it doesn't enhance your experience enough for me to be like, you have to listen to the audiobook for this. That's why it's kind of middle road, just means whichever one you probably can pick up and you're gonna be good. Now number 3 is art. This audiobook is like listening to your favorite soundtrack. It's just so good, so amazing. You gotta pick it up as an audiobook. It actually enhances your experience so much that I think you should definitely pick it up as an audiobook if you have the opportunity, as opposed to a physical book. My aim here is more to tell you whether it's better as an audiobook. So I'm gonna rate it on the audiobook scale, not the book scale. Let's start with the best and go to the less. First book that you have to read as an audiobook is Born a Cry by Trevor Noah. This book is a non-fiction narrated by Trevor Noah and tells the story of his life and his time as a mixed-race child during apartheid in South Africa. So if you don't know Trevor Noah, he's a late-night host. What's the beauty of this audiobook, and I think a lot of non-fiction audiobooks have the advantage of, is the fact that it's read by the author. So Trevor Noah narrates the whole book himself, but not only is the book really good, but the way that Trevor Noah narrates it really just gives it life. It just makes you feel like you were right there. Trevor Noah has amazing accents. He's really well known for putting on different accents in his skits and things like that. So the way he narrates the audiobook, he does a voice for everyone, and you really get a feel for the person. You feel like you're right there with him, and this beautiful story just comes so alive, and he's such a great voice. I really like Trevor Noah and I really enjoyed this book. I think it just gives you such an amazing account of an experience. Next up in a God tier, we have Nevernight by Jay Kristoff. Nevernight tells the story of Mira Corvere, whose parents were murdered when she was very little, and now she seeks to become an assassin to get revenge for her familia. This is a very grim, dark, gritty world. And the reason I think the audiobook is the best for this is the footnotes. The footnotes is something everyone knows about this series. First time I consumed Nevernight, it was through an audiobook, and I must say the footnotes were so seamless, so well incorporated into the actual book, that it was not a problem for me at all. But I read Dark Dawn, the last book in the series, physically, and I must say that the footnotes were way more difficult to go down and look for it, then read it, then go back to the story. It just felt like I was being taken out of it. But for some reason, when the actual audiobook narrator did it, he did such a great job that the footnotes just flew so well with the whole story, and you didn't even realize that you were taking out of the actual plot, and it just felt like the world was expanding. So I would highly recommend it. He's really good at voices as well. He's really good at making the characters come to life, and the footnotes just flow seamlessly. So if you're gonna pick up Nevernight and you were always scared of the footnotes and you feel like maybe the footnotes will impede your enjoyment, go for the audiobook. I'm telling you, it just feels seamless. It's really well executed. Okay, now let's move on to the meh category, as in, couldn't care less. So Again, not saying these are bad books by any means. I'm just saying, either as audiobook or a physical book, you could enjoy them. First off, we have The Diviners by Libba Bray. Again, a brilliant book. The Diviners follows the story of Evie, who moves to New York because of some sticky situation she got in back home, and this is set in 1920s New York. And in this world we have people called diviners, so they have special magical powers. Evie is one of them, and whenever she touches an object, she can gauge a history or a feel for the person. Like I said, an amazing book, and I really liked the audiobook. I thought it was executed well. It had the 1920s music in the background, everyone had an appropriate accent. I think it was a multicast audiobook, if I'm not wrong. It's definitely, I was almost gonna put it on the free scale, but because it's quite a long book and it really builds tension well, I feel like the audiobook, while it enhances your experience in some parts, it kind of enhances your experience in other parts. I know that's not a word, but it's fine. Because of the music and the accent and the cast, it just makes the experience so much cooler. But because the book is quite long and the plot is quite complex, and then we have a lot of tension building and things like that, it can be a little bit hard to stay focused on the audiobook. And I think now it depends what you do while you listen to audiobooks and what your habits are. For me, I usually listen to audiobooks when I walk somewhere, when I clean, when I cook. And if I listen to when I cook, I can get really easily distracted because I'm doing so many things, reading the recipe, trying to remember everything. And I feel like if you're listening to this audiobook in that context, when you're busy and you can only give certain percentage of your attention to the audiobook, then it might impede your experience a little bit. So for that reason, I feel like maybe if you actually read the book, then it's a little bit better, or if you listen to the audiobook in a very controlled environment where you can really focus. Next up, we have Turtles All the Way Down. This is John Green's newest book, and it tells the story of a girl who has obsessive compulsive disorder. It's never really said, but she has a lot of obsessive thoughts and she has thought spirals. It's really a story about her and her experience in high school, but in the backdrop there's a subplot of her trying to find a billionaire who disappeared to get some reward money with her friend. Because the main character has thought spirals and is quite obsessive in her thinking, and she's also germaphobe, this could go two ways. Because the audiobook really enhances this. You can really feel her panicking, her feeling closed off. You get this feeling of claustrophobia. You really start thinking about all the germs, and it makes you feel uncomfortable. And this is wonderful if you want a really immersive experience. But if you're someone who might not be okay with this kind of thing, or it might be triggering for you, I can see how this would really be uncomfortable. Even for me, even though I don't have, I'm not a germaphobe and I don't have OCD or anything like that, it was still really uncomfortable to listen to at times. For that reason, again, it was so immersive, and it has the story on one hand, but on the other hand, it made me anxious and uncomfortable. So it depends on where you are mentally in your headspace, and it's a contemporary. For that reason, I feel like contemporaries, I struggle to connect with audiobooks for contemporaries, especially when it's a romance as well. But then on the other hand, contemporaries are a bit less easier to listen to. Turtles All the Way Down, I could take either way. I could just read it, I could listen to the audiobook. I think you should really decide whether you're okay with the visceral nature of the audiobook when it comes to anxious thoughts and thought spirals and that kind of thing. Now we go down to, yeah, just skip the audiobook. Just go for the book, I think. So for this, I have two books as well, and the first one is There's Something About Sweetie by Zendaya Menon. I did not enjoy this audiobook, despite the fact that I think I could have enjoyed the book, because I read the first book and I really loved it. So this book tells the story of Sweetie, who is plus sized, and she's the star athlete at her school as well, and she has to deal with her mother being really obsessive about her weight and really putting a lot of pressure on her to lose weight and to be beautiful. And she meets a boy who's really popular, really flirty, that kind of boy, and they're both Indian Americans, so there's the pressure of their parents to start dating and find a suitable partner. So they decide to go on a couple of arranged dates. They had two narrators, one for the boy, one for the girl. When it was the girl's POV and the boy would come in, then they wouldn't get the boy actor, they just would make her make a male voice. And now that I've listened to more audiobooks, I also realized this is quite a common thing to do. But I just don't understand, you're already paying both of the actors, you could make this way more immersive. And for some reason that made me kind of not enjoy it very much, because the audiobook was a bit weird. The audiobook was a bit confusing and really made me not care that much for the story. Performance that didn't connect with me, although I must say all the accents they did for like aunties and uncles were well done, but still, I wouldn't recommend. The last book I have is a little bit of a cop-out because I actually stopped listening. So I'm not really authorized to talk about the book because I only legit listened to maybe 10% of the book and I just couldn't listen anymore. I can 100% say that was the fault of the audiobook. And that's the Music of What Happens by Bill Konigsberg. This is a story about two gay teenagers, and over the summer they start working in the same food truck to help it stay afloat. I was enjoying it at first, but then they changed the perspective to one of the guys, and for some reason the audiobook narrator just felt the need to make it sound so comically caricature of a gay person, and I was just so confused because in the other narrator's POV it wasn't like that, and then I don't remember if it was the main character or if it was like a side character, but they made him sound so comically like he was very stereotypically gay, and it just really took me out and I did not enjoy it. So for this reason I just felt so disconnected from the audiobook, I just stopped listening. I still want to pick up the book. I feel like it had a really potential to be really cute, but then this random decision out of nowhere just got me so not comfortable that I decided to just not listen to it. Maybe if you guys listen to the whole audiobook, should I just stuck it out? Was this some just weird mistake? Was I just being really weird and paranoid? I don't know. I wouldn't recommend. Maybe pick up the actual book. I might actually do that too. Okay, so that's it for my Better Hours in the Audiobook video. I really hope you enjoyed. Let me know some of your favorite audiobooks and what audiobooks should I steer clear of. Again, I was talking about audiobooks, not the quality of the books. But let me know what you think. Do you disagree with me? Do you agree? I really hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you could like, subscribe and comment and do whatever you like, that'd be so appreciated. But I really hope you have a really good day and I'm going to see you in my next video. Bye!